Good afternoon. Welcome back to AM 1410 WRMN in Elgin. It's Wednesday. Today is the 22nd of February, 2012. And what a beautiful day it is outside. Where is winter? Is it ever going to reach us?
Nope. It's in Europe.
Knock on wood. I'll take it that way.
I know. You see them shoveling their cars out that they're buried.
Some local Elginites, and I won't say who they are, but they're predicting that we're going to pay dearly for this in April when there's 3 feet of snow on its way for the entire month.
If you remember that year back when we were babies.
Could happen.
Yeah.
It could happen. I'm not saying it's going to. I'm just saying there's a price to pay for everything you do.
Every single thing. And listen, this is the 119th show.
119th show of Laura Dion-Jones, the show that helps you lose weight fast, get rich quick, look young forever, just like Laura Dion-Jones. Laura, as always, looking fantastic today. What is your secret?
I'm divalicious, baby.
Divalicious.
Divalicious. Yes, indeedy.
And I'm seeing double today, but we'll talk more about that.
We're going to get to that. But listen, I still want to tell you something that's stuck in everyone's craw around town that I've been talking to. Gas, $5 by summer. Mm-hmm. You guys scoffed last week, WTS.
Hasn't happened yet. It could still
by Memorial Day.
Well.
By Memorial Day.
It's like you want it to happen just because somebody said, no, I want gas at $5 a gallon.
Not at all.
Still
we want to go make a novena.
We're going down. While the nation goes up, though, this is good for some of those political folks. While the nation goes up, we're in Illinois going down.
That's right.
Down in recent times. Joe, look it up.
Yeah, but I got to tell you something. As I understand it, gas keeps climbing every year that Obama is in office. I'm just saying. I ain't saying nothing bad about Obama. I love him.
Well, then the one
However,
the government guy's going to have $2 a gallon, so let's elect him right now. Hold the election before Memorial Day.
Yeah, but Newt's nuts. We don't want Newt. Come on, get out of here.
That's a very subjective call for the nation. $2 a gallon is good enough for me. He's in.
Nice.
Let's give
Probably free beer on Friday.
Let's give a huge shout out to Dr. Claire Oleos and her husband for their 20th anniversary, happy anniversary, which was last week.
Yes.
We found out about it after the show. And a very happy 86th birthday to a really good friend of mine. His name is Arthur Polikoff, and he says he just wants to live forever, and so far it's working.
Nice.
Isn't that cute? 86. He's adorable. And today's joke at the end of the show is from him. So you can imagine what an 86-year-old joke is like.
I can imagine.
I had dinner with Dr. Oleos last night.
Yes?
Yes.
She's one of my favorites.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is that, 20th anniversary plus 1 week festive celebration? Where was that at?
Yeah, it was at the riverboat in the Oak Room.
At the casino.
Yeah.
For the
you kids get out.
Chamber of Commerce, yes?
Yes, sure was.
Anyway, on that note, our very special guests today in the Laura Dion-Jones Show are Jeff Meyer, running for Kane County Board, District 17, in the Republic primary. And then, right after the half, one of our very favorite Illinois State Senators, Carol Pankow, will join us from her office in Springfield with, she's going to be fresh from the governor's budget meeting. I can't wait to hear that one, eh?
It was a good time as it was last time. It'll be fun radio.
It's going to be a real good time. And so stay right where you are, and please don't touch that radio dial, because in the studio with us today are my favorite Mike Hunziker, one of my best guy pals, loyal sidekick, and trusty board man, and Jeff Myers, my remarkable co-host. And of course, what would our show be without, that was cute, be without our very favorite YouTube camera girl, none other than Valerie the Swan. So please stick around, because as usual, we've got a whole lot of fun and interesting talking lined up for you today.
All right, Dr. Claire Oleos, we're going to talk a little bit about that. 2001 Larkin Avenue, she's located at, and since you were at the boat with her, you know all about that, so congratulations to that. And she, of course, has been chiropractic care for parts of 24 years at that Larkin Avenue source. Look at the perfect posture there, if you will. Diva, well, we're not promoting canned goods, we're promoting your perfect posture, for heaven's sakes. And the can's good, too, but Dr. Never worked with that.
It's zero calories, just in case anybody was wondering why I'm burping.
Case closed for her. For Dr. Claire, give her a call. You'll have good posture right there. Hey, a little quick note, 25th anniversary for the Little Angels Pledge Run. That'll be May 20 of 2012, as you know, and you can get involved with this. Simply can go up to their website, www.lapledgerun.com. You can do that if you will. I also have a phone number for you, which we'll look up quickly. I believe it's going to be 741-1709 with extension 104. If you want to get involved with that, it's a big one. You'll be there. And
I will be there.
Big
at
fundraiser.
The registration table. It's huge fun.
Little Angels.
Even if you're not a biker, it's huge fun.
Okay.
And would also like to thank snobhounds.com, a canine clothing company. As usual, think Nike meets Donna Karen, but for canines. And we'd also like to thank KC Tool, an automotive specialty tool company, available through your Snap-on mobile tool distributor. And a very special thank you to KC for making this show and all of our shows possible. And we have to move along quickly because we have a jam-packed show. And it's time for Laura's Motivational Minute. Are you ready for the quote?
Yes, go ahead.
Keys to success. Research your idea, plan for success, expect success, and just plain do it.
Do we know?
It amazes me how many people skip this last step. Practice being a doer, and success will follow you every step of the way. He's an author.
Jeffrey Meyer, A. Meyer, knows that right now. I can safely say that.
Looking at my
Jeffrey,
notes.
lead in there and tell us who that quote is.
Here, tell us who this quote is from.
Alfred Montepert.
Wow.
And he's an author.
I went to school with him. I know him
I
well.
know you do. That's why I used the quote. And he's the author of the book, The Supreme Philosophy of Man, The Laws of Life, which is an amazing book written in 1970, and it's basically the same philosophy as The Secret, but even better because it was the original secret that she knocked off. Somebody should tell, excuse me, Oprah. But did I say that? No. Okay.
The Secret.
On with the show. Some of us live our lives like every day is Fat Tuesday, and boy, they don't call it that for nothing. Because Fat Tuesday was yesterday. Today's Lent. And my article, my motivational article on Boca Jump, elgin.bocajump.com, is Fat Tuesday. Did you know that Mardi Gras is French for Fat Tuesday?
Wow.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
You're smarter than a lot of people, especially me. It refers to the practice of the last night of eating richer, carbier, fatty foods before the ritual fasting or giving up of something in sacrifice like sweets for the Lenten season, which begins today, Ash Wednesday. I gave up all sweets, by the way, chocolate, everything, until 3 o'clock Good Friday. Yes, so let's see how much weight I lose.
Let's do it.
And since I was a full week ahead of myself like last week, because I thought last week was Fat Tuesday, on Valentine's Day, erroneously, I feasted on chocolate, sweets, and the like until...
Till last night?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't. But anyway, I ate a lot last Tuesday because I thought the next day I was going to give it up. But what this unwitting little Choco binge did for me was get me in the Lenten fasting a week early, in the mode, giving up the sweets. I lost 2 pounds.
Wow.
Which isn't something...
Because it made you a little hyper.
Don't be rolling your eyes, Mikey. You gained 2, I lost 2.
Even.
Okay, because I found that the keys to true and everlasting weight loss success truly are research your diet, find the one that works best for you. Low carb works like a charm for me and most of the Elgin Biggest Loser contestants that have worked with me. And then make a plan for success and call me if you need help with that, Mike. And then, by all means, expect success because you deserve it. And most of all, you just plain gotta do it. It amazes me also how many people skip this last step. They should all practice, everyone should practice being a doer, and success will follow you every step of the way because it does me.
It's nice.
Aren't you worth it?
Yeah.
Aren't you worth it? What have you got to lose? Nothing but your unhealthy, unwanted weight. So please read the rest of my motivational article on Elgin Boca Jump site and under blogs. I'm only looking at you because you're in my line of sight. You know that.
Okay, you say that all the time.
Well, you're like my brother.
He's a prop. He's a radio prop.
Sometimes you look at Jeff, sometimes you look at Val, and then when you talk about losing weight or doing carbs or doing exercise, it's always eyes on Mike because you just happen to be in my line of view.
You are. You're right in front of me. Val and Jeff and the other Jeff are on my sides. We got to lower this mic boom so I can see
I know,
you.
it's kind of like that Caddyshack
I know,
scene where
yeah.
you switch the lamp away and...
Here, let's switch gears. It's time to give a warm LBJ welcome to our very first special guest today, Jeff Meyer, who's running for Kane County Board, District 17 in the Republican primary, and he's also known around town, I think, I've heard, as the other Jeff Meyer.
This is true. Thank you very much.
So I want to know something right now. Are you two boys related or something?
Ironically, we were chatting in the green room, as is tradition before your show, and his dad, although he's fourth generation Elgin, his dad was from Quincy, Illinois, graduated Quincy High School, Quincy College. My first major broadcast job is 14 years in Quincy, Illinois. So not only do we have the illusion of Jeff Meyer...
You are related.
Perhaps.
Somebody changed and added an S on your name so that... to throw the...
It's the cover. So it's very
throw
cute.
people off the trail.
So we do get each other's mail, although we have different middle initials, and it's cute at times, although I'm sometimes reprimanded by folks by saying, you were supposed to meet with Ruth Munson last night.
And where were you?
I'm going like, I was. I got caught once, and I didn't pick it up real quick.
Did it dawn on you that they were talking about the...
Only afterwards, after I was a fool. Sorry, I missed the memo. And I realized, it's the other... singular S. Jeff Meyer.
I have to thank you, Jeff, for the name recognition. Most politicians have to pay a lot of money to get that. So.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? So anyway, welcome to the Laura Dion-Jones Show, and thank you for joining us today, the other Jeff Meyer.
Thank you very much for having me.
Listen, now that our normal Jeff Meyer spilled the beans that you're a fourth-generation Elginite, why don't you tell us something else about you that we should know? Maybe are you married and what you do professionally?
I'm getting married May 19th. It's coming up very quick. Yeah, absolutely thrilled. Very excited. My fiance, Courtney Berg, is also a lifelong Elgin resident. We're both a couple little Elgin rats. We graduated from Larkin High School together. And
is she also getting married in May?
Well, I hope so. I hope so. I think that's the intent.
Well said.
But we'll find out.
You never know.
Soon, yeah.
In this day and age, I mean, seriously, I got some guys who might want to talk to you. But
I'm pretty confident. Confident.
You are just too cute for words. Well, let's talk about why you're really here today. First of all, why did you decide to run for Kane County Board?
For a number of years, I've been very involved politically, locally. I've been involved in a number of races. It's something that I've followed since high school, and I decided it was kind of time to stop simply commenting and criticizing and advising, and throw my name into the hat as well, and give it a try for the county board district. The things that really kind of struck a chord this session, or this cycle, are really the struggles that a lot of our neighbors are having. I moved back into town after college, after I graduated law school, bought a house on the near west side in the neighborhood that I grew up in.
Okay.
And it's changed a lot since I was in school.
For the better?
For the better, and to some degree, unfortunately, for the worse. And that's not really the community's fault. It's kind of some externalities. The foreclosure crisis certainly is a big part of it. Also the general down cycle, particularly in home building locally, our economy, a lot of the jobs locally were working collar jobs, or working class jobs, blue collar jobs. And the people who work in those jobs, live in Elgin, and they were certainly affected to a greater extent by the downturn in the economy, I think, than other communities. And seeing the struggles that my neighbors were having struck a chord with me, and I wanted to get into this race and see what I could do to help out my neighbors.
That's wonderful. Who are you running against?
I don't have a primary opponent. I'm fortunate in that regard. But I will have a general election opponent. And because of redistricting, when they rewrote this district, they put two incumbents into it. Deborah Allen, who lives on the east side of town, and Jeanette Mihalik, who lives on the near west side of town. Jeanette decided not to seek the nomination for this race. And so Deborah Allen is running unopposed for the Democratic nomination, and she'll be my opponent in November.
That's interesting, because she was on the show, and I like her as well.
Oh, I like Deb very much as well.
She's wonderful.
I've known her for a number of years. She had switched parties in 2008 and ran as a Democrat. She'd previously held office on the county board as a Republican.
Oh.
And we had worked together on a number of races in the past, in particular Steve Rauschenberger's race for U.S. Senate in 2003, 2004. Deb, I think, is a very nice lady. Very nice lady. But this isn't a race about personality. It's a race about policy and issues. Well,
I mean, it shouldn't be. Let me rephrase.
That's true.
It shouldn't be. It should always be about policy, should it not?
I believe so.
Tell me something. You mentioned law school, so you're an attorney now? You're a practicing attorney?
I am.
What kind of law do you practice?
General practice. I do primarily civil, commercial litigation, and then some transactional work as well. Everything from estate planning, business organization, and real estate, commercial and residential real estate transactions and land use.
Cool. What sort of campaign are you running?
A grassroots campaign. This is a local race, and so kind of by necessity, it's a grassroots campaign, knocking on your neighbors' doors, talking to your neighbors, holding, coffees and teas, and asking your neighbors and friends to do the same, making sure that you're involved with community organizations and attending community events and speaking up. But this is a presidential election cycle. There are congressional races up, contesting congressional races, and now because of redistricting again, the 8th congressional district covers my county board district, and that's going to be a hotly contested congressional seat, maybe one of the ones that determines control of the U.S. House.
Go ahead,
And so because of that, Laura, I think that this is, some of these races down ballot are going to get kind of drowned out in press coverage on TV and even to some degree on the radio. And so it's going to have to be a door-to-door grassroots type campaign.
Worked for Dave Captain, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Tell tell me something. What are the three key issues in this election for you?
For me, the three key issues, first and foremost, are property taxes and trying to do something to first freeze and then over time reduce property tax levies and rates. Secondly, would be to control spending in Geneva by going to a zero-based budgeting process. And thirdly, and not less significantly, ethical and transparent government in Geneva.
Oh, I got questions, but first I got to tell everybody that you're listening to the Laura Dion-Jones Show, and we are on the air with Jeff Meyer. He's the Republican candidate for Kane County Board, District 17. And then right after the half, Illinois State Senator Carol Pankow will join us from her office in Springfield, fresh from the governor's budget meeting, which we can't wait to hear. Okay, let's get back to our guest now, Jeff Meyer. We were talking about the three key issues in this election. Give me number two again.
That would be controlling spending in county government by reverting to a zero-based budgeting process. So
in layman's terms, in 50 words or less. Give it to me.
It's tough for an attorney.
I know. It's tough for the diva here, too, but go ahead. I'm listening.
What that is requiring the county departments to come in and justify every dollar they're spending and not just the changes in their budget from the previous fiscal year. It requires them to come in and explain why they want X number of dollars this year and not just the change from last year. So they have to justify every dollar spent.
Plus, if they justify every dollar they spent, then they have to justify the employees that they have under them, and maybe if they have a few too many assistants and people doing things, because I know being involved, not that I'm involved in Chicago politics or any other politics, because I don't know that much about politics. I just have my own opinions. But I do know that sometimes there are a lot of people that their jobs could be consolidated. I'm sorry to say it.
No, absolutely, you're right.
There's a lot of waste, and it's when it comes down to the tax dollars, our tax dollars,
Can I ask when
Sure.
we stopped justifying every dollar that was ever spent? When did we come to the conclusion that we don't care what we spend our money on? When did this come to was this a slow process that now all of a sudden needs to be put a stop to?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I do know that, it takes more work to do a zero-based budget than it does to simply do a budget where you're deciding whether or not you want to change from the prior year's expenditures. It takes more time to go through it that way, both for the county departments in their presentation and for the board in its consideration. But county board members are well compensated. Some would argue probably too well compensated, and they get some perks maybe that they shouldn't get. And so I don't think it's too much to ask from the people on the board to go through that process. But bureaucracies have a way of sustaining themselves. Once they get going, they kind of keep going. And I agree, we have to look at personnel in addition to other expenses.
Wait till I get to this one. In your interview with the Herald, with the Daily Herald, you mentioned government accountability as being something extremely important, and I would assume that you mean transparency in that also?
Yeah, I would agree that that's a fair characterization of my comments.
You know what? Because, let me interrupt, because all the time, all y'all politicals always bring up the government accountability issue, but then no one does a dang thing about it. So kind of what's up with that? Who's going to start? Who's going to be the first one to make the step?
Well,
think about it.
First, I guess to kind of talk about whether or not it's something that's attainable, I think it is this time. There's going to be a lot of change in Geneva no matter what happens in these races. We're going to have a new chairman. There are a lot of districts where you're going to have new members because of retirements or people running for different offices.
Okay. Redistricting?
So, yeah, redistricting is a part of it. So the opportunity for change is greater now, I think, than it's been in a very long time in Geneva. And there are a lot of people running in these races who are talking very seriously about reform and have made it an important part of their campaign. Chris Lawson's done that. Kirk Kazarka, a good friend of mine running for county board's done that. Doug Shefflow, also running for county board, he's talked a lot about it. And so I think it's going to be on the agenda. I think it's going to happen. As far as what I would like to maybe see happen first, the county board has a lot of its meetings during the day now. It makes it very difficult for residents and citizens, in the county to participate.
Is that on purpose? Is that by design? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
During the day, more people are working, less people come in complaining about, my neighbor's dogs are barking. And
I don't know if it's by design. I do know that it makes it difficult for residents to participate, and I think we need to give them the opportunity to participate.
You better believe
and so
it.
I'd like to go to as much as possible, go to evening meetings.
Look at Elgin. The Elgin city council meetings, they're held in the evening, right?
Yeah.
7 o'clock for the public.
Evening on TV, and also Boca jumped, so they're all over.
Yeah.
Most municipalities do meet in the evening for that reason. both because the members, the citizen, leaders,
the voters,
and the voters, that's when they're available. That's when they can participate.
That makes sense. I think this is along the same lines. I had the question that in that same interview with the Daily Herald, you talk about the need for Kane County Board to adopt a strong ethics ordinance. Is that kind of the same thing we're talking about here?
Yeah, it certainly goes to the same ends. This is something that the board's been debating for a while, and they've been bouncing back and forth a draft ethics ordinance for some time, and I think that the disagreement is over the degree to which the ordinance that they're talking about has teeth. And I think what they mean by that is the ability to enforce its terms. There were some concerns raised by the state's attorney's office over, I think, some state preemption over some of these areas, the degree to which, the county board and could pass an ethics ordinance that applied to county officers, to the directors, or pardon me, to, for example, the treasurer, or to the state's attorney's office. There's some legal boundaries, I think, as to what the board can do. But at least insofar as the board policing itself, I don't think those same legal boundaries really are applicable. And I would think that we need to have an ordinance that does have some teeth, where there are some real penalties for people who violate the terms of the ordinance that gets adopted. And, even if we can't enforce it as a matter of law, there's no reason why the board members shouldn't be willing to voluntarily agree to a code of ethics and agree, even if it's contractually, to allow themselves to be policed and to pay some penalties if they violate the terms of the ordinance.
And especially if you want transparency.
Absolutely.
Now, what would the penalties entail? What would a person have to do to be penalized? Give me a for instance.
Well, they've got, the debate is, over, I think, the process also to be employed and not just the penalties to be imposed. I think it's a good idea to look at whether or not we go to a multi-member kind of ethics panel. I think there's a single-member panel currently, whether that, and the authority that they would
have. One person, you mean?
I think that's the way it's currently structured.
Okay. Supreme Court ain't one person.
No, it's
not. If you get my drift here. Snark. Sorry.
But, as far as the penalties, whether it be monetary penalties or I think that has to be fair game. Those have to be things that are considered.
You say that you're in favor of immediate county property tax levy freeze with cuts over time?
Yes.
Can you explain that a little bit and how that is going to help? That's a double-edged sword. You want to give freeze and cuts to the taxpayers.
Yes.
But we need to balance the budgets, so to speak.
Kane County is somewhat fortunate relative to some other local government entities in the area. Its fiscal house is a little more in order than some.
That's good to hear.
It is good to hear in one respect, but they have increased their levy since 2003 by more than or pretty close to 50%. So they were spending.
What do you mean?
They were spending, I think, $36 million, or their tax levy, the property tax levy in 2003, I believe, was $36 million, and in 2010 it was $54 million, or roughly thereabout.
Okay.
In that same time period, the county's population increased by about 27% or 28%, according to the Census Bureau.
All right.
Anyone who says that the county is keeping its spending in line with population growth or inflation, I don't think is being 100% truthful with you. The only way to stop government from spending money is to put some structural controls in place, and that's what the property tax freeze, the immediate property tax freeze, is about. And then cuts over time. That kind of coincides along with what I've talked about with zero-based budgeting, where we're looking at the dollars that we're spending to find out if we really need to be spending those dollars. And if we don't, then those savings should be passed on to the taxpayers. The biggest complaint I get from residents when I knock at their door is that, my property value is declining and my property tax bill, stays the same or goes up.
Isn't that the truth?
They think that, and rightfully believe that there should be a correlation between the two. If you're going to tax my property value, then, my bill should go down when my property value goes down. Well, the way to make that happen is to control spending and to put some structural controls in place.
Very good. Don't you think, y'all? Mikey?
Yeah,
Jeff, Bell?
absolutely.
That makes sense to me. Tell me something. What keeps you up at night?
Thankfully I sleep pretty well. Sometimes my dogs keep me up. But as far as stress factors, there are certain aspects to the profession that I'm engaged in that sometimes bring stress to a person's life, and sometimes those things do concern me. Sometimes those keep my brain going a little bit. But as far as politically, the biggest thing that I think causes me stress to that level is that we continue to spend ourselves into oblivion. Maybe not necessarily on the Kane County Board, but our municipalities are doing it, and certainly the state of Illinois is doing it. I have no idea how my generation is going to pay for the spending that the last two generations have imposed on it and the debt that's been left to us. That causes me great concern.
Causes us great concern, too. You're going to live longer because of your age, one would think.
Hopefully.
It's
going to turn around somewhat.
Take your advice on some other things.
That's right. Cardio, young man.
Cardio.
But I don't know, I lost my train of thought.
Can I interject just one quick question? Elgin Octave, can you tell us what that is and your involvement with that group?
Sure. Elgin Octave was, or is, I should say, kind of a voluntary association of several individuals who were concerned about what they saw happening in the city of Elgin during the last fiscal year. As things came to a head and the city realized that it wasn't going to have enough money to pay its obligations, they started talking about, well, how are we going to close that gap? And they started talking an awful lot about tax increases, fee increases, revenue diversification, I think is the word that they attached to it. To me, it all looks like a tax hike. And Octave was a group of people who recognized that and wanted to make sure that attention was brought to it and that there was public discourse over it. One of the key things that Octave got involved in was the business license issue. If you want to talk about trying to increase revenue, you have to talk about bringing more businesses to the community and adding new fees, or taking money away from them and giving it to other people to spend isn't a way to attract business.
The zero balance budget is more the way to go.
Yeah.
And I spoke to Dave Captain, Mayor Captain, today. I had a little chat with him, and that's the way I think that the city of Elgin is going. Don't quote me, but that's the impression that he gave me. Tell me something. We're running out of time. What I was going to say to you is what you said about, you're going to be left with the debt, your generation and your kids' generation. One of my opinions on that is not if we don't stop crazy people like Iran and North Korea from getting the nukes, because what they don't seem to understand is that if they unleash that on us, they're killing the whole planet. They ain't just unleashing it on us. Eventually, it's going to all be carried around. So I don't know what's worse, what to worry about. Are we leaving our kids, our grandkids with some huge, enormous debt? How are we going to pay it down? Are they going to be living in tents? Follow. What would you like to leave our listeners with?
What I'd like to leave them with is this is a critically important election from the top to the bottom. This is really going to kind of decide the direction that the country takes. If we don't start addressing some of these structural spending and debt problems this time around, I think we're going to be over the cliff and it might be too late next time around to really turn the tide. I encourage them to sincerely pay attention, listen to the candidates in all of the races, and even in races where the structural debt isn't as much of an issue, recognize that the people who you elect to those offices are the people who later on down the road are going to be trying to address the problems in other areas of government.
Go ahead.
And so I'd ask them for their consideration for me in my race, the people who I've worked with and supported in their races, and I ask for their vote in March and also in November.
Structural debt is everyone's problem.
Sure it is.
And I think you talk a really nice game. And I wish you the best of luck. Do we not?
We do. Jeff, I have a follow-up question. What can you do to get more voters to come out and vote? It's my contention that I could win the race if I just get 2,500 people to come out and vote for me.
It's very possible. A lot of people feel disenfranchised, like their vote's not going to matter or things aren't going to change if whether or not they participate.
I feel like that.
The thing that candidates need to do is give them FaceTime. Go and talk to them at their door and explain the importance. And that's what I've been doing for the last several months and what I'll continue to do through November.
Bravo. Any other questions from the class here in the studio?
I admire his style and his name. You can't go wrong with it.
You would admire his name. I admire his style and his zeal.
That's right.
Not so much his name, because I'm confused. Jeff, and then you would hear two people answer.
Yeah.
How can people contact you?
People can contact me by email at jeffameyer, JEFFAMEYER.com. or by telephone at 847-857-7518.
Wonderful. And you know what, kids? Thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me.
Stick around. And just like that, it's halftime. And hold those thoughts. We'll be right back in a moment with, hopefully, Illinois State Senator Carol Pankow to dish about the Illinois State budget unveiled today by our governor. So stay tuned, because you're listening to the Laura Dion-Jones Show on WRMN, 1410 AM. And we would also like to thank our very special sponsors.
Dr. Claire Elias. Now, socially, she's been at Villa Barone last week. Obviously at the boat. Yesterday was that...